What is up, motorsport fans? Welcome back to the channel. Look, if you thought the Friday practice sessions in Spielberg were wild, what just happened today in qualifying for the 2026 Austrian Grand Prix completely rewrote the script for the entire weekend. We have just witnessed one of the single most dramatic, unpredictable, and heart-stopping Q3 sessions in modern Formula One history. The championship leader, Max Verstappen, pushing the absolute ragged edge of his upgraded Red Bull, completely lost it through turn 9, slamming heavily into the barriers and throwing a massive wrench into the final flying laps. With yellow flags waving, a teenage provisional pole sitter backed out. Ferrari sensed an open door, but it was George Russell who delivered a masterclass in risk management to snatch an incredible pole position right out of the jaws of chaos. In this video, we are breaking down every single moment, the technical blunders, the Q1 shocks, the Q2 near misses, and why the grid for Sunday's race looks completely upside down. There is a massive storm brewing at the Red Bull Ring. Hit that subscribe button right now, drop a like on this video, and let's jump straight into the breakdown of today's F1 highlights. To truly understand how this qualifying session exploded, we have to look at what happened just hours earlier during free practice 3. The European heatwave is clamping down hard on Spielberg, with track temperatures soaring past 40 degrees Celsius, turning the Red Bull Ring into an absolute ice rink. Early in the session, McLaren showed serious muscle. Lando Norris was setting the timing screens alight with a blistering 1 meter 7.83 seconds, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. His left wing mirror completely shattered at high speed, forcing him back to the garage. Mercedes, however, proved that their Friday pace was absolutely no fluke. Rookie sensation Kimi Antonelli went out and laid down a marker, beating Norris by 0.3. But in the dying moments of FP3, George Russell finally got one over his teenage teammate, pumping in a rapid lap to finish the final practice session on top. The message from Brackley was loud and clear. Mercedes came to Austria to win. Alright, let's talk about the first official knockout session. 16 o'clock local time, the track is at its absolute hottest, and the pressure is critical. On a short track like the Red Bull Ring, traffic is a nightmare and a single microscopic mistake in the final sector ruins your entire day. As expected, the session was an absolute dogfight. Kimi Antonelli picked up right where he left off, setting a blistering 1 meter 7.083 seconds to top Q1 ahead of Norris and Hamilton. But look at the bottom of the timesheets. It was an absolute disaster class for the back of the grid. Aston Martin had a shocker. Fernando Alonso could only manage 21st, with Lance Stroll down in 22nd. They are desperately waiting for upgrades, and today proved it. The real heartbreak, though, Williams and Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, fighting a snappy rear end, went wide through the final corner, bleeding precious hundredths of a second. He was eliminated in Q1, finishing a shocking P17 alongside Alex Albon in P18. Think about that, a factory Ferrari driver out in the very first segment. Moving into Q2, the track rubbered in, and the times started plummeting into the low 1-minute 06s. Mercedes maintained their stranglehold, with Antonelli once again looking utterly untouchable at the front. But the real drama was developing right around the cutoff line. Red Bull's Max Verstappen was struggling heavily with the balance of his RB22. He reported constant radio interference and balance issues. On his final flying lap, he was sitting dangerously close to the drop zone. Enter Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Gasly put together an absolute monster of a lap, extracting every single ounce of performance out of that car. He crossed the line and missed out on knocking Max Verstappen out of Q3 by a mere 0.04 of a second. Gasly takes P11, followed by both Lottie and Haas drivers, and Alpine teammate Franco Colapinto in P16. Verstappen survived by the absolute skin of his teeth. This is it, the final 12 minutes. The top 10 drivers on Earth fighting for pole position at the Red Bull Ring. And the first runs were pure poetry. Kimi Antonelli laid down a spectacular lap to hold provisional pole position. The garage was buzzing, a rookie on pole in Austria. It felt written in the stars. But then came the final runs. Mercedes chose to send their cars out last, meaning they were right behind the pack. Max Verstappen was on an absolute flyer, trying to rescue a front row start for Red Bull's home crowd. He entered turn 9, Pushed a millimeter too far onto the curb, the rear snapped instantly, and boom, he slams heavily into the barriers, triggering a yellow flag. This moment changed everything. Kimi Antonelli, running directly behind, saw the yellow flags, assumed it was a double yellow hazard, and completely backed off his lap, ruining his chance to improve. But right behind him was George Russell. Russell noticed it was a single yellow flag, not a double. He lifted intelligently through the danger zone, obeyed the safety rules, and then matted the throttle. Because he was already tracking nearly half a second up on his previous run, even with the lift, he crossed the line with a blistering 1 minute 6 seconds and 113 milliseconds. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who were ahead of the crash on track, also found time, leaping up to P2 and P3. Russell takes pole, Leclerc alongside him on the front row, Hamilton P3, a frustrated Antonelli in P4, and Max Verstappen somehow holding on to P5 despite finishing the session in the wall. After the session, George Russell was absolutely ecstatic, calling the lap unbelievable. He made it clear that he followed common sense, lifted for the single yellow, and the car just felt incredibly sweet. Meanwhile, over at Red Bull and McLaren, there are a lot of long faces. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri could only manage P6 and P7, meaning they have a mountain to climb on Sunday. Look at that top 10. Look at the gaps less than 0.4 of a second separating the top 7 drivers. We also have to give a massive shout out to the young guns Isaac Hadjar putting his Red Bull in P8, while the Racing Bulls duo of Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad locked out the top 10 in front of their home crowd. With the front row consisting of Russell and Leclerc, Hamilton looming right behind them, a furious rookie in Antonelli, and Verstappen fighting back from P5, Sunday's Grand Prix is poised to be an absolute powder keg. Tire degradation in this intense heat is going to dictate the strategy, and honestly, any one of these top 5 could walk away with the victory. But now I want to hear from you. Did George Russell deserve that pole, or do you think the yellow flag situation should be investigated further? Can Verstappen slice through the field, or is Mercedes taking home the trophy? Sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this comprehensive qualifying breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our full Sunday race analysis, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas, and I'll see you in the paddock.